Hey Nkululeko.
What's good, man? What's good? What's happening?
I'm good, man. Yourself?
I'm good, thank you so much. Shout out to everyone watching. Yo, yo, yo. This is Nkululeko Nkewu from Idiski TV. Thank you very much for watching and joining us.
Great. Thank you so much for doing this, man.
It's so good, man. We're all content creators.
All right. So can you take us through maybe your journey in career and business?
It starts at a call center.
Wow.
It starts at a call center. It's 6 years there. I dropped out of BCom accounting when I was 20. After the first year, I did well there, but I come from a township. I have no money. I don't even have 7 rands to go from Enyanga to Belleville at the University of the Western Cape. So it's like, nah, man, fuck this shit. I need to find something that works for me, because I struggled the whole first year, not academically, because I did well academically. I was good at become accounting, good at accounting. But then I decided, okay, fuck this, let me go and find something. And I did that. The second year in January 2011, I'm still 20, about to turn 21. I was like, yeah, let me go to the library. I went to the library, searched for jobs. Lucky enough, within 2 weeks, I got a job taking calls at a call center.
Wow.
Good day, my name is Nkululeko. How can I help you? SIM card yama isebenzi. All right, what is your cell phone number? And so on and so forth. So I did that because I wasn't drinking, I wasn't smoking, I wasn't ill-disciplined. You do that for a year, you get promoted. Do that for a year, you get promoted. Eventually, I got promoted from earning maybe 4,000 to like 6,000 to like 10,000 to 12, 14,000 ultimately. Wow. So I spent 6 years at a call center doing various jobs. Eventually, because I'm a content consumer and I listen to radio, I was listening to a local radio station called the Radio Zibonele, and they were like, ingaba ufuna ukuba umsasazi wezibonele, usasaze ezemidlalo, thumela email kushete@gmail.com. So basically that was the advert.
Yeah.
And I sent the email to Shete N, who is Ntabeleng Shete, the station manager at the time. And from there, I started doing there were like 100 to 50 to 100 of us for the audition day. I got there late, an hour late. I spent like 8 hours there from 10 o'clock to like 4 p.m. Everyone queuing, but I was like one of the 2 or 3 candidates that was successful in the job. The reason why I was successful to get that, it was not necessarily a job because I was still doing my call center job, but the reason why I was successful is because I'm a content consumer. I was never going to talk about football if I don't watch football. I was coaching at the same time. I was a secretary of my football association in Nyanga, so I was a football person. I used to go to the Cape Town Stadium whenever Chiefs, Pirates or Sundowns are there to watch. So it was easy for me, all the questions that they were asking, and I have the voice, to present in isiXhosa and stuff like that. So that was not necessarily a move to another job, but that was my in to the industry, entertainment, the media. So I did that whilst doing my job, because that radio thing was not paying actually. It was a community radio station. It was a gig that was not really paying me, but it was a good into the industry, because at the same time as I was doing my call center job, coaching my kids, I had a team of like 100 people in my township, and I was the coach and the owner of the football club. At the same time, doing my radio thing. So every day is like from 8 a.m. I do my normal work, 4 p.m. I do coaching, and then 6 p.m. I have to go to a Kailicha to go and present a radio show Monday to Friday. And then I would get home maybe around 10 p.m. every single day, like 14 hours.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And
where do you get the work ethic though?
I think it's from poverty. I think that I've always known that it's not okay to be poor and to be hungry and to not have your 7 rand to go to a university even though you're smart, and to not have anything. When I was in grade 2, I did not have shoes, and I went to school without shoes. But I've always known that that's injustice, that's obscene, that's bullshit, that should not happen. And I realized that as I was going through it, this shit should not be happening to me. This is not fair, you know what I'm saying? But I was not moaning about it, I was not telling people about it, but it was an internal operating system from within that told me, no, this is not right. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew I was dope. Even when I was in primary, they would have white people coming in to install computer labs or start a gardening project, I would be called as a 10-year-old to go and speak to those people. Thank you very much for opening a garden for my school. We are very appreciative.
Wow.
And that was the year 2000.
So you're the bright kid.
Yeah, I was always a bright young kid. Year 2000 when I was 10, 1997 when I was 7, there would be, like randomly there would be white people starting projects there. Even if it's a drama project, I have to translate for them. You know, I don't know how I learned English because I wasn't taught, it was self-taught. I would listen to radio, I'm a content consumer. Listen to radio, content consumer. Read magazines, content consumer. And then I would string together the words. And then I would know what "the" means. And I would know what "it" means. I would know what "boy," "girl" means. And then you string it all together, you have language. And then you can communicate. It means you can understand the content scalar better. I was not really that bright. I could understand English, therefore I could understand the content that they teach Escala better because they teach it in English. They teach natural sciences in English, they teach history in English, they teach EMS in English, they teach mathematics in English. All our textbooks were written in English. So anyways, I digress, but that's what, to answer your question, the work ethic, I always knew that this was injustice. Everything that was happening to me was not something that's supposed to happen to anyone. Growing up in shacks, my mother being abused, she was almost killed when I was 8 years old. I watched her almost being killed. I tried to help, but I was helpless and stuff like that. I knew this thing is not right, you know what I'm saying? So that comes from there, that I'm constantly on the verge, on the road to run away from my poverty. It's always here, always next to me, because it's been with me. I'm 32, it's been with me when I was young. I'm like, yo, fuck, get off me, like, you know what I'm saying? This is why I have a house that's comfortable, it's dope, it's nice for myself and my family, because I'm running away from poverty. And unfortunately, it's always there. That's why you start another YouTube channel, and another YouTube channel, and another project, and another project, because you're trying to run away from poverty. And that's your imperative as a person. You try to run away from poverty. You do what you can for your own self to get yourself away from the shackles of poverty.
So from the community radio station, what happens?
I do community radio station at the same time as I'm doing my call center job. And from that community radio stations, everyone who's going there, they are happy to be known by 100,000 people from Kaile, Chanyanga, Koguletu. Mina, at the same time, I'm using, there are 2 studios there. There's one where you do the live show, and everyone goes in there for their own time slot. Mina, I would go there at a different time, and I would record stuff. I would record myself using different voices, narrating football matches, and so on and so forth. And no one was telling me to do this, but I was already older, man. I was 26 at this time, 27, and it's like, nah, man, I need to do something. I know that this is not the end, because the people that were at the community radio station, were there for 5 years, for 7 years. They were happy to be known by 500 people, 1,000 people, 50,000 people. I was like, nah, I had bigger dreams. So long story short, you record on the other studio where people are not recording live. And then there's something that happens at Sokala Duma. It's starting. It's called Sokala Duma Radio. Sokala Duma is a newspaper, right? They talk to soccer players. When you buy it every Wednesday, you see a journalist asking questions and then the player answering those questions. I used to read Sokala Duma when I was young. So basically, that was their model. Now, a young, bright, white dude called Jason Aker, he's in his 30s, early 30s, or like 29-ish. He goes to them, he's like, I want to start something. I want to take these interviews, put them in audio form, because Sokala Duma has like 1 million visitors on their website per week. So if people can read these articles, we can actually let them stay and listen to some of these articles. So then they put an ad out, they're looking for the voice for that, and guess what? I have recordings that I send via email to Sokala Duma Radio, and that's what happens. Jason calls me in December, sorry, it must be December 2016, I'm 26, and he calls me. Like, yo, I listened to your audition, blah, 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 blah. And he calls me after 3 weeks. I thought that, okay, whatever, I didn't get the job. And then they are opening up in the middle of January. I go there. What they do is they say, find your way to get yourself soccer players that are professional, that you can speak to. If you can do that successfully for 4 consecutive weeks and you don't need our help, then that means you're good for this job because you don't need any supervision. I did that. I spoke to Eliza Rogers, he was playing for Platinum Stars. I spoke to Nathan Polser, who was playing for Ajax Cape Town at the time. Maybe I spoke to Umanyama, who was a player of the season that season. He was playing for Cape Town City, and maybe I spoke to the 4th person. But I did 4 consecutive ones. They paid me 1,500 for each interview, which I think I got 6,000. Yes, I got 6,000 after 30 days from those interviews, even though it was a sort of an audition, because it was also live, people could listen to it, which means it's content for the company as well. I got that job. Then that made me, my negotiations were
before that, what was the best interview at the time?
all of them were dope because I was trying to be creative. Maybe the one person who opened up was Eliza Rogers, because he told me that he used to work at a furniture store. I asked them questions that are personal before I go into the interview. So the first 5 minutes, the way I structured it was that the first 5 minutes tell us something that we don't know about you. Right? And then he would say, no, I used to work at a furniture store in the Rylands, and I'm like, I'm from Cape Town, and we both from Cape Town, and we talk about Rylands and the fact that he had to travel and take 2 taxis or whatever the case was at the time. It's not so much about the content itself, it was about the fact that I enjoyed them, I flowed. When I was speaking to them, so that when the person who's listening, they can enjoy it too. They can realize that this is just a conversation between 2 people, and so on and so forth. So we then go to the football questions and stuff like that. I already know their careers. I know them because I'm a content consumer. I know them. I know who they play for, who they used to play for. Why did you leave Sundowns? Blah 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 blah. Eliza Rogers used to be a Western Province sprinter in the 400 meters. So you already know that because you were listening to a commentary and the commentator say that. You ask him, he talks about it, and so on and so forth. So those were the nature of the interviews at the beginning. And then of course when you get the job, it will change slightly, that you know it's a job now. You need to make sure that the interview is listened to by people. The numbers mean something now.
Beautiful. So you didn't get a job in the most traditional way, where a whole lot of people have to go and get educated for it. What is your view on education at the moment in the country?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, because I need to be responsible.
Yes.
Personal viewpoint and personal principle, personal constitution, fuck education. What is education? I've read more books outside the framework of organized education than I have within organized education. In 2017, maybe I did between 50 and 100 books in 2017 alone. No one was telling me what to do about that. Like, it was a journey of personal improvement. There are people who are structured that way, that you could do better outside the framework of formalized education. But there are other people as well who need that structure, that rigorous structure of being told that be here at 8 p.m. This is the assignment, and this is the due date for the assignment. And then you are given, of course, a certification for validation that you went through this 4-year period, and you are a chartered accountant. And then you find out Ugutu doesn't know that our neighbors to the northwest of South Africa is Namibia, and then to the northeast of South Africa is Mozambique, if I'm not mistaken, or Botswana, and so on and so forth. There's such basic things that to the east of the country is Durban, and it means that they see the sun first before the rest of the country. It means 5 a.m. in Durban is different from 5 a.m. in the Western Cape. That's shit that you will educate yourself about. Doesn't mean anything, but it's stimulating information that lets you know that you are a person who's interested in knowledge, in gaining knowledge. So yeah, be educated if you need that. I mean, all the companies that I've started, even with my Jason as well, all the companies that we started, Idiski Media, which is Idiski TV and Idiski Times, are valued between 40 and 50 million. Doesn't mean that they have that in the bank, but it means their official valuation is between 40 and 50 million when you take into account everything that we have as Idiski Media, Idiski Times, our newspaper, and Idiski TV. They are valued between 40 and 50 million. But Jason is not educated, but we are very educated because we're not ignorant people. We know about our industries. We know how to get information about our industries. We are industry experts in the field that we're in. And sometimes I think that when you are educated, you get broad information about a lot of stupid bullshit. When I was in my first year in BCom Accounting at the University of the Western Cape, there were so many modules that we had to take. You have to take 4 modules in the first semester, between January and June, and then between July and December is the second semester, you take another 4. But maybe you only need 2, and then another 2, but then they have to up your credits, so you have to take other modules. And I found I was not learning anything from that. It was stupid bullshit. I'm not where I am now based on what I learned at the University of Western Cape or my grade R to grade 12, which is 13 years of education. I'm where I am now because I was reading books and I've consumed hundreds of hours of YouTube videos. And that's the most important thing for me. That's education for me.
Yeah, constant self-development. That's what you...
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so take us from Laduma to eDisky TV. I want to know more about eDisky TV.
Okay, Soccer Laduma, we start with Jason, who had the idea. We worked together the whole year of 2017 when I left my call center job. We literally are in this kind of a space. There's a table, there's 2 microphones. I get to call the football players. I speak into a microphone and they answer the questions. We package those things. It turns out that people like them so much that 10,000 people listen, 50,000 people listen, 100,000 people listen. That means we can take this product, go to the market. So we got Heineken, we got Venthoek, we had a lot of sponsors. Puma, I did an interview with Pesitao and Tembazwane. Puma was selling a new boot from that, right? So in that year, all I'm trying to say is that the 2 of us as a team, myself and Jason, we made Soccer Laduma 1.5 million or more from the direct work, because you can see in the financial statements that Soccer Laduma Radio this financial year, made this amount from the direct work. You give or take, you minus our salaries there, which is maybe in a year was $500,000 for both of us combined. Soccer Laduma made $1 million from this. You know what I'm saying? So then it becomes clear to me and Jason, and I, that, okay, we can do this shit ourselves. So then we were doing Soccer Laduma, and then we got gigs to do Massive Metro. So I would then read football news for a radio station online that was in Johannesburg when I was in Cape Town, called Massive Metro. We developed a relationship from there. The guy who owns Massive Metro, Tyron Willemse, Tiff, then takes Jason from Soccer Laduma in 2018 to come and work at Massive Metro because there's an ownership squabble. Jason is the father of Soccer Laduma Radio, but he does Soccer Laduma Radio within the framework of Soccer Laduma. That means he created a thing within the working hours of Soccer Laduma. That creates tension. Because if you are a fair employer, you would say, maybe I could give you 10%, maybe I could give you 40%, because at the very least, we can acknowledge it came from your brain. This is your intellectual property. But then you did it in the framework of the infrastructure of Soccer Laduma, then we give you 0. And that created some tension within him. He leaves for Massive Metro in 2018. I win awards in 2017 and 2018 on the job that I was doing personally for Soccer Laduma Radio. This validates us, so we were on the right track. 1.5 million made in that year, winning awards in the second year. Even the platform wins awards as well. And then, as he leaves for Massive Metro, in 2018, he then calls me in 2019 to come to Massive Metro 2, because we need something the salary gap needs to be filled. If my expenses cost me 15,000 per month, that I need that 15,000 or 20 or 25, so I can't just leave with nothing. So I came to Massive Metro, took a salary cut actually to come to Massive Metro, as we negotiated on the phone with the people at Massive Metro. But I was like, yo, we need to come to Joburg because all the football clubs are in Joburg. And that's precisely what we did. Came to Johannesburg, we came and hustled. We worked for Massive Metro in 2019, but because we worked together with Jason at Soccer Laduma Radio, we had the plan. We're going to do eDisky TV and eDisky Times. But it was not refined in that way. It was not specific. We're going to even call it eDisky TV and eDisky Times. We just said we're going to do something for YouTube. We need to do a newspaper in vernacular languages as well. That was the idea from the beginning. When we get to Massive Metro, we do our monotony, normal jobs, stupid bullshit, go there, blah, 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 have stupid people telling you what to do. But you then have to do that. You have to go through that, obviously, because you are the employee. But within a few months of me being in Johannesburg, I got to Johannesburg May 2019. And then by July 2019, because I always remembered that this is the dream that we wanted to do, I then tested the YouTube aspect of this. I tested it. I went to Junior Kanye, I went to Skalkvik, I went to Jabupuna Mahlangu. Unfortunately, I was working with him at Massive Metro. So I had this idea that I'm going to do YouTube videos, but then I had to first watch YouTube videos on YouTube for maybe 100 hours, like maybe 4 hours at a time. what makes YouTube videos work? What must you do with titling and tagging and headlining and the individuals that you speak to as you are talking to them, and so on and so forth. You can't just speak to a nobody and expect people to watch the video and so on. So that's what happened, right? I tested it with this Junior Kanye. In the first 5 days, the video wasn't doing well, but maybe after the 15th day, I started seeing something. You start getting notifications on your phone. Just so and so commented, and then. So there were like 100 comments in a very short period of time, and that video is now sitting on 250,000 or up to 300,000. And in the Hertzkalkovik video, I think it got 60,000 views or 80,000 views the last time I checked. And the Jabupule Mahlangu video, it got maybe 250,000, between 250,000 to 300,000 views. All of these people that I was studying on YouTube, which South African football individual is most watched? Let me type in their names. Let me see how other people reviewed their previous videos. And I went for them, right? And that's how we started eDisky TV. We had to start with eDisky TV. And the model that I chose, which is Match Day, was coming from me watching Arsenal Fan TV, which is AFTV now, where they go to stadiums, they watch the matches, and then they talk to the fans about it. But I knew that that's not going to work in South Africa because people want to align with individuals that they are familiar with. So I had to then go to Junior, who was playing in the ABC Motsepe League. And I said to him in December 2019, yo, bro, let's do this. How much are you getting paid? 10, 15? Okay, we'll cover that. Don't worry. Then we had to approach, Jason and I approached the owner of Massive Metro, Tyron Willemse. We said, look, this is the idea. These are the videos that we've already shot. This video was seen by 200,000 people. This one, blah, blah, blah. This is now proof of concept. You're proving that this thing that you want to do is going to work because it's already worked in the first 4 videos that we've done. And then we split the ownership from that point. He takes his percentage, I take my percentage, Jason takes his percentage. The exchange is that he's going to cover the salaries, right? Otherwise, we're not going to need someone to put money in if Jason and I had the money. If we had at least per month 40 to 50,000 rand to cover the cost of doing what we were doing, we're going to be dope. Like, we're going to be in a way dope position. You know, so this speaks to the ownership now. There's 3 of us. It was always going to be me and Jason, but we needed the third person who has money that has less limitations because we were relying on salaries, right? So we did that, and then with the 15th of January 2020, Sundowns is playing against Orlando Pirates at the Orlando Stadium. We went there. We were actually very late for that game. We came in the second half, but all the action happened in the second half, and then we shot the video. The first video was on 40 to 50,000 views, and it was on Daily Sign. It was all over social media. Our videos were sticky. They were shareable. It was easy for one person to feel one way or the other. Fuck you guys. Blah, 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 blah. And that's what you need. You need content that works. You need content that people can identify with. So that's what happened from the first video. We had a model. And then the other matches. We zoomed in or honed in on Chiefs, Pirates, and Sundowns because we refined it. We realized every time we shoot other teams, people are not interested. They won't say they're not interested, but you can see from the numbers. That's all you need. The numbers won't lie. They don't have feelings. They don't have emotions. We saw from the numbers that, niggas ain't shit. Like, they don't care about these teams. They care about these 3 teams. And that's it. Like, now we're sitting on 137,000, close to 140,000 subscribers. Right, so it kept on growing and kept on growing and kept on growing. From some of the money that we are making from YouTube, we are then able to attract sponsors. Our first sponsor was World Sports Betting. Our advertising partners were World Sports Betting. And then we were able to rope in Vilagazi. And then the more money we were making from the advertising revenue, we were able to rope in Makanya and Tukutu Makanya and Marcelo Machaka. And so on. So we were able then to cover more. And from that money, we were able to start our newspaper because from the beginning, we knew that this is what we wanted to do. And our website makes more money now than eDisky TV.
That's a great story. On the newspaper part, why newspaper? Because a lot of people are feeling like, we're going digital and why newspaper?
Because we're coming from Sokola Duma. We know what money we're making. And we also are people from the industry. Jason was also working at Sokola Duma as someone, and he had been a journalist before. Nami, I was at Sokola Duma in that environment. I'd been a journalist before, so we know the numbers from within. Everyone who says newspapers are
A thing of the past.
yeah, a thing of the past, an asset that's not going to make you any income, are people that are not within the industry. There's still money to be made in the newspaper industry. Sokola Duma was easily making millions per month from selling newspapers, and that for us was encouraging enough to know that if we can start it, Nati, we can do it, and we can do it better. It was also a spirit of competition, knowing that we can hire the best journalists and we can do the best stories in English and isiZulu, and if we have money, every single province where there's a dominant vernacular language, we could do it. In Free State, we could do Sotho. In Eastern Cape, we could do Xhosa. That was like the original idea. And then, of course, you get wrapped up in business and expenses, you realize, shit, that will be very, very, very expensive. But in newspaper, we're not making a loss. In fact, we just signed a deal with ShopRite in Gauteng, where we distribute our newspapers there now for free. The idea there is that we have consumers, and those newspapers are selling out at ShopRites. We have consumers, people that go and take those newspapers, and with those consumers' eyes, if it's 20, 30, 40,000 per week that we get from that, we can then be able to take the paper to the market. And that's what we're going to cover, our expenses and earn us an income, because we have a paper that's selling. Even now, Banyana won the African Cup of Nations, and Banyana are on the cover of our newspaper. No compromises.
In closing, what would you say to a kid in Mdantsane or Khayelitsha or any of these who feel like they are marginalized, they don't have opportunities?
Yeah, I think being born poor is one of the worst things that can happen to you, because it's your predicament. You're faced with it. It's the worst thing that can happen to you. You cannot choose your parents. You cannot choose the fact that they drink or they don't drink, they work or they don't work. They are in an area where you're going to be killed or not, versus them being parents from the suburbs. You cannot choose that. It's a predicament that you face all the time. And I've thought about this question actually over the last few months as I am gaining traction and success, and I realize I was given one of the worst cards possible to play. Like, it's like if you are playing a deck of cards, a game, whatever, Crazy Eights or poker,
yeah,
you literally have the worst possible set of cards, because I was born to a teenager, a 17-year-old. That's my mother, right? And I changed a lot of stepfathers when I was young. And she was not raised by her mother, and she was neglected. As a result, that's how she learned her parenting skills, which is neglect your own kids. And she drinks every day. So those are your deck of cards. However you get out of it, get out of it. There is no secret formula to it. But what I can say is that between the ages of 20, I'm 32 years old now. Between the ages of 20 until 32, I never went to a single party. I never drank a drop of alcohol. I only started smoking cigars as a celebration when we had an acquisition from World Sports Betting, for example, buying 51% of our business, Idiski Idiski Media, all of our business. That was like a celebratory cigar, but be disciplined. If you have to be at home at 10 p.m. on a Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, that's boring, but you have to subject yourself to that because you have a fucked up set of cards. Other kids with parents who have cars, who can take their kids to better schools, decent schools, they can afford the luxury of doing some stupid shit because their parents can rescue them. But if you are in a predicament where your mother is a drinker and there's no income, there's nothing. It's the worst possible situation you can find yourself in. So you cannot pretend as if you are in a different situation than what you are in. Be disciplined, stay disciplined, look after yourself. You are your best bet. No one else is going to help you. No one is going to suddenly give you $1 million and get you out of that situation. You are going to have to get yourself out of the situation. And maybe 9.5 times out of 10, you won't get out of that situation. It's a predicament. It's a game. It's a game you cannot win most of the time. But all the best to anyone who was born in that situation like myself. Self-discipline is going to help you a lot. What if you don't have the ability to read? What if your mother was drinking alcohol and you had fetal alcoholic syndrome, and that means when you're looking at words, you can't really interpret. It's like they're upside down or something because your mother was drinking when you were an infant in her womb. You know what I'm saying? There was
Yeah.
not sufficient nutrition, and that affects your ability to read, which affects your ability to communicate in English, which affects your ability to get jobs. You know, so
Yeah.
it's the worst set of cards you can be dealt with. But there you are, you play them. However, maybe you have a physical skill. I'm not trivializing poor people's predicaments because I come from that shit. But maybe you have a skill, a physical skill. Use that to get yourself out of that shit. Don't drink, don't smoke, be disciplined.
You have a
Or-
beautiful story, man. This must be shared to a whole lot of people because I believe that in seeing you, they will actually rise up and do something about their lives. Thank you so much for your time.